That was like right down to the wire, man. Right. I've been sitting here for like an hour. So I'll take this opportunity to welcome everybody to the greatest wealth building community on YouTube. This is the fastest hour on YouTube, unscripted. I don't roll with teleprompters, just coming on to tell my story. I usually tell my story in my day-to-day activities, right? So everybody wants to know about this topic. Why is that? It's because everybody can involve and improve their financial awareness and stewardship to the stock market. It's only going to help you out. Okay. I run my channel a little bit different here on the Independent Investor channel. For those of you guys that have been following me for quite some time, I've been taking a little bit of a leave to YouTube. I do that periodically, and I do not apologize. I don't. YouTube for me is a project that's longstanding. I've said many, many times, I treat this project like I do my investment portfolio. I treat my relationship with my audience, my community, you guys being that, as just that as well. I don't like the shallow aspect sometimes of social media, and I don't gravitate toward that. I don't. I'm trying to build and foster a community of successful wealth builders here. Make no mistake about it, if you just allow me the opportunity to speak frank. And in my day-to-day opportunity and talking to people, man, I can't go to the pool. I can't go to work. I can't go to the gym without having somebody get on the investing topic with me and want to keep me there. And I think it's wonderful. I really do. I don't have a whole lot of time for barriers. I don't have a whole lot of time to what seemingly keeps a lot of people off of investing. And that's usually why I don't use the word investing, because when anybody hears the word investing, sometimes they synonymously think gambling, or they think diet, and they think it's something that they can't do. It's scary, right? We can't do this. But if we think about it from a wealth building perspective, it takes on a whole new meaning. And I think anybody out there could do themselves a huge, huge favor and adopt some of these principles. Come in, grab a little support for an hour or so on a Friday evening, listen to somebody like myself and a lot of the subscriber base and channel creators that's in the group here. I've got a guest in the studio that I'm going to bring on here shortly after I take just a few moments. I see you there, Alex, man. So I appreciate you kicking on here. Very cool. This is what this channel and this community is all about. It's all about fostering the opportunity for individuals. All right. I've had a few people drop in the thread tonight some pretty incredible stuff. $10,000 milestones are being set, met, and surpassed. It's awesome. Okay. I always said, and I said this years ago, I said, if you come to me and you let me know those small success stories, I'll be the first to tip my hat to you. Okay. Because I've been doing this a long time. I've met a lot of financial milestones. Had I not, I wouldn't sit across from people and try to bring people along on the road that I've already walked. Okay. This is a walk that I think a lot of people can take. And if you're starting on your investment journey, I see Lydia in the group there, or if you're finishing up your investing journey and you're looking at, and you've got retirement kind of in your crosshairs, this message can benefit you as well. And I think a lot of the takeaway for a lot of people who make their way into this message, don't take what I say as a carpet bomb application. Okay. The real secret is to take these little tidbits of knowledge that we drop and apply them to your own lives. Okay. I find it interesting how a lot of people who will say, I don't have any investing savvy, I don't know what I'm doing, Ryan, help me, get into a little bit of discussion, and they've got the mental fortitude to make it in investing. They just don't understand that they do. And that's the key. If this opportunity helps you find that it factor for you, by all means, let it foster. Okay. I'm not going to send you a bill. Don't worry about it. This is social media. This is the game now. Okay. This is the opportunity to come on and discuss a new era of investing. And me, as an old school investor, I'm having some fun sitting back, watching the opportunity unfold. All right. Guys like me, investors that have been around the game for a while, always try to come back and keep ourselves a little bit rooted. We've had obviously some disconnect between technology and value. That tide seemingly shifted just a touch today. Interesting enough to see the market down, but my portfolio up today, 2K. So it's nice to see. I am holding long on those tech positions, but with some relative scale. Okay. We don't want to be chasing the market in any way. We want to be making strong moves in the stock market because they make sense for freaking you. All right. We don't need to be making moves because it makes sense for everybody else under the sun. We don't need to be making moves because everybody on Robinhood is seemingly justifying everything under the sun. What's right for you is going to be right for you. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to come in here and drop them in the group. This community, there's quite a few self-made millionaires in this group here, and I don't apologize for success. So success is something that I absolutely insist upon, and I don't fear. I expect it, and I expect it for each and every one of you guys that make your way in here and try to engage in what I consider to be a higher level of thinking, okay? Some of the things that I engage in with my day-to-day activity, with my physical fitness routine, my sleep routine, my creative routine. Sometimes I stop and wonder how many other people are out there doing what I'm doing right now. And what you need to kind of do is redefine what you think normal is with your routine. If you truly want to get ahead, I'm not saying you have to exercise a creative vein. I'm not saying that you have to drastically change your life. But man, look at what is working in your life and do the hell away with that stuff that's not working in your life. Okay. You'd be so much happier that you did. And you'll realize what I've realized for quite some time is that even though there's 24 hours in the day, you can fill them up and be pretty productive with your day. It's an awesome feeling when you're empowered. And that, at the end of the day, is what we're looking to do. So just like to take the opportunity and welcome everybody to the live stream, man. Within the first 10 minutes, I do want to shout out to my good friend here in Virginia Beach, Mr. Eric, who is just been a real good friend of mine, man. He got me back into Friday Night Lights here. And he's a very, very, very good guy. And he's interested in this topic as well. And it speaks to a larger interest in this topic now, in that what you think you understand about the investing opportunity right now, I think you just need to take a step back and listen to what's out there, listen to what's available, listen to how some of those barriers that have existed over the course of the investing opportunity have dissolved away. I can't believe how incredible it is to be an investor. And with the amount of wealth that I've been able to build up, I'm almost partially a spectator at this point. And I spend a small amount of my time monitoring my own program, and the majority of my time, at least on the creative aspect, trying to help people, right? Trying to bring them along, because I don't know if there's a whole lot of better feeling, man, when you put a plan in place and you actually see it work. It's an absolutely incredible feeling. It really is. And I would want nothing less than for you guys to experience that as well. Some of the folks that are experiencing it right now, no doubt about it, are in the group tonight. I've got Gen X dividend investor in the group here. Hope all is well with you and the family, man. And I was talking to Kyle. Kyle always pops on before with passive income educator as well. I can't tell you how happy I am with that product. It's just absolutely incredible. Self-directed investing group.com. You guys are going to want to kick over there. Find your way at least to the Facebook group. That's free of charge. Guys, I allow everybody to come in there. I do spend some time keeping charge of that group. But if you do want to elevate your game, trust me, high level thinking is in the WhatsApp group. And for just a few pennies per month, you can have direct engagement with me all day. And we are, in fact, engaging in that group. We've got a few folks on some just incredible accelerated paths. I'm not saying you can't succeed by yourself, because you can. There's no doubt. But I think a lot of these folks that are making their way into that and getting a little bit more access to me, they're figuring out that sitting in the driver's seat of my Ferrari is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And I don't share that stuff through social media. It goes to the exclusive VIP group, and that's just the way it is. And those people will be more the wiser for it. So I do cordially invite everybody to kick over. That's one of two projects that we do have, and I'm glad to offer that and roll that out. It's been fantastic. I do have Lydia in the group who says she's been working very, very hard, bringing up into the millions for the firm. So that is fantastic. I hope everything is well with the house, Long Beach, right? But it's been a while since you popped in. You've probably been busy. But here's the thing. It's an open door policy on the Independent Investor channel. Lydia was an original OG with this channel, no doubt, and she'll always be part of the community. And this community will be around for the next few decades, not years. So while we're out hustling, doing our thing, this channel can be just an ace up your sleeve or just a piece of advantage in your back pocket, honestly. And anytime when you're feeling like you need a little support, anytime you're feeling like you need a little motivation, I'll always be there for you to dole out that motivation, because guys, I'm like this all the damn time. All right. Very, very cool. I did see J Mac Investing, my brother from another mother. We're going to get together here. I told him I would look him up when I headed down. We just had a relocation of some family down there to NC, and I was kind of hoping it would be me, actually. We're kind of looking at that as a retirement spot for sure. But J Mac Investing is in the group here, well, one of my featured channels as well. Rebecca Waters, Quest to Fire's in the group. Hidden Freedom Investing, who is one of those ambassadors for successful investing. And again, I won't apologize for those folks being VIP members of this community. All I can say is I'm humbled for you guys coming by, sharing your stories about what you do with options, stock, and bacon. I'm all about it. It's great, man. I love all you guys. I think it's fabulous. Sharing your success stories with the group here. I'm humbled. I really am. Got some a lot of familiar faces here, man, for sure. But we're about 12 to 15 minutes into the stream here. I've got a guest who's made their way on here. Before I bring Alex on and get some cross dialogue, give me a chance to go through some of the comments tonight on the live stream. I just want to let you guys know every single Friday, this hour from 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time could, in fact, be your opportunity to kick on here either before the stream. If you don't want to go live, Alex is fired up. He's ready to rock. Do the live stream. It's really not that big of a deal. And you really don't have to put on a show either. Hell, I don't. I'm the same ornery fella away from this live stream that I am on it. So don't think for a second that I'm going to be different. But I roll this opportunity out through StreamYard to be a little bit more dynamic, flexible. If you've ever found a level of success on this channel, it's kind of what I'm looking for, because I can talk till I'm blue in the face, and I have rendered a little bit of success before I started YouTube. But I want to hear those stories of people making their first benchmarks. I want to hear people, I've sat back and watched some guys like J Mac Investing when he first started on YouTube. Now he's knocking on the door to 100 grand, ripping right through financial thresholds. And that's what it's about, guys. That's what it's about. And if you think for a second you can't do it too, I'm here to tell you that you can. He would tell you the same. All right. Rip through those barriers, man. The quicker you take them on and grab the bull by the horns, the better off you'll be, man. So without further ado, I'll bring Alex on, have him introduce himself to the group and see where he's coming from this fine Friday evening. Alex, you got me okay?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, brother. Loud and clear, man.
Cool. Yeah. First of all, it's pretty incredible that I'm even here. I usually catch your show on most weeks, ever since like the start of 2020. And like, I've always wanted to join. I know you drop the link like pretty much every week. But this week is like the first week I had the guts to actually join and like talk to you. So just being here is actually really cool.
I thank you. And when you talk about guts and things like that, I try to break down these barriers to entry, man. I love talking about finances, and I'll talk about it with anybody. And this is just a cool opportunity for people to hear, testimonials from a lot of people who are applying this. Where are you hailing from, Alex, by chance?
Yeah, so I'm in Los Angeles right now. I'm actually in the northern part of Los Angeles called the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just working remotely because actually my job is located in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley. So I'm like, why do I have to pay Bay Area rent to live there when I'm not actually going to my office? So I'm just here, enjoying the lower rent here.
For real, for real. California's got a special place in my heart, man. I love it. I used to work down there in the port of LA, man, and I met my wife in Hollywood. So
Oh, nice.
definitely a gem for me, man. So welcome. Do me a favor, man. If you'd be so kind as just kind of introduce yourself are you a subscriber to the channel, right? You're not, or you're not producing any content right now, Alex, right?
Actually, I am. So yeah, I have a YouTube channel. You've probably seen my username. It's actually Blood Phantom 81.
Yep.
So that's me. So I'm always like commenting on your live stream and just joking around with the rest of the folks there. So yeah, no, that's who I am. As far as like my investment journey goes, so yeah, I think I started investing when I was like 18. So basically, as soon as I can open up a brokerage, that was the first thing I did. It was like my 18th birthday. I was like, I have to get this.
Yeah.
So I downloaded Robinhood and then like fell in love with the platform, fell in love with investing from there.
Yeah.
And then, but it wasn't really until like I got my full-time job right out of college, which was like maybe age 21, 22, where I could actually start investing like real money. Because basically up until that point, everything I had was like, savings here and there, right? So I was playing around with like a few $1,000s, which is still probably more than other people had at that age. But yeah, and then so once I hit 22, I started to invest the money that I made from my actual job. Started making decent money. I was working in Bay Area, Silicon Valley, doing tech, data science actually. So it was easy to like get ahead. And then I'm 24 now, so just hit my first milestone of a 6-figure account. I think when I was like 23, I think. So now I'm zeroing in on $200,000. Actually, I have I'm around like 180, I think. And a lot of that has been from the investing style I have, but yeah, so just wanted to share that.
Share a little bit more, if you don't mind, what you define to be your risk, your style of investing. I consider it to be strategy, and it's okay, man. Don't ever. I think young people, for the most part, should be taking more risk in this market. The market's changed. Look, there's opportunities at 42 years old that I would be taking if I was 24. All right. But with my age, what's appropriate for me is going to be different than what's appropriate for you. So if you wouldn't mind, indulge us a little bit on what your style kind of.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that you opened up with that disclaimer, right? Because I don't go out broadcasting exactly what my strategy is all the time, because I understand that there's a very thin line between investing and gambling, and it doesn't take a long time to creep from one area to the other. In fact, I've recommended some folks to start investing that have had this gambling mindset always. Like I've made their like M1 Finance pies just for them, just on their risk tolerance, and then they end up scrapping that and just doing options on Robinhood, So yeah, no, I like that you obviously had a disclaimer. And I think over time, we all sort of develop our own investing style, because my philosophy is like, whenever I talk to people like real estate investors or just folks on the internet, like on Reddit, for example, the idea is always that the market is going to do what it's going to do. And there's probably not a reliable way to beat it. So there's always like in this sense of like defeatist attitude. So yeah, as I started investing, I was like, how can I sort of get ahead, and how can I beat the market every year? So the goal was always like, beat the market by a few percent. And then as I've progressed over time, like now that goal is probably a lot better. Yeah. I did like 100% last year. It sounds like a crazy number, right? But I documented it on my channel. Did 100% last year. I'm up to like 55% year to date this year.
Yeah.
So now that I've given like the selling points, so I don't come off as a used car salesman, now I can talk about like the actual what I do. So yeah, I am basically a swing trader, and I'm not ashamed of it. It's who I am. I try to, because obviously in this community, right, there's always this like this weird feeling with trading rather than investing, right? It's either you're a long-term investor or like you're an options trader. There's always like very, very little gray area.
That's a barrier that I'd like to work on, man. My bottom line, Alex, has always been about making money. And we talk about the stock market as if it's some big scary place. What's scary about it is going into it without discipline, because you can really find out that you can make money in the stock market. The problem is when you start to allow short-term thinking to consume your thought, and you move away from that plan. It's like, I can deviate from my plan just this once, man, because I've had this track record of success. And it's a really vicious type of, if you don't have discipline in it, it'll burn you, and you'll usually come back to your discipline.
That's 100%. Yeah. I mean, I consider myself a trader, but I have a long-term mindset. So in a sense, I'm like an investor, because even though on average my trades may last anywhere from like a week to 3 weeks, which in the long-term game, that's nothing, right? That's pebbles. But I always have that long-term mindset in the sense that, like, if I screw myself over, like, that's it, right? Like, it takes a couple slip-ups, maybe you go too heavy in options or something, and you have to start from scratch, basically. So I never try to do that. And so yeah, going back to what my strategy is. So I'll start off with a very simple definition of what I do, and then we can start to break it down from there.
Nice.
So I basically just try to gauge supply and demand, right? So it doesn't get any more simple than that. Obviously, there's supply for stocks, there's demand for stocks, meaning that there's places in which there's going to be more supply, and there's places in which there's going to be more demand. And so it's my job to try to figure out where I can fit in as a part of that, because obviously, like, the market is this really vast, this really mysterious thing. So I'm not trying to make my own rules. I'm just trying to play a small role in it. Can I get my $1,000 here and there and just exit, right?
Of course.
So yeah, it starts off with supply and demand, and also trying to understand sentiments. So sentiment in the sense that there's obviously two extremes of sentiment. There's extreme optimism and there's extreme pessimism.
Sure.
Right. So we would see extreme pessimism at the bottom of crashes, for example, right? Like 2008, 2009, like extreme pessimism. And that's the sort of fuel that fires these really large rallies. On the flip side, when you have extreme optimism, I think the market is even more vulnerable for potential, catalysts to come in and just wipe the market. And we've seen, extreme optimism would be an example, like anywhere from the years of 1997 to 2000, where the NASDAQ, averaged like 40% a year or something like that, right? We're talking an index almost looking like a penny stock in late 2000. So those are the two things I try to gauge, right? Supply and demand and sentiment. And then on the supply and demand stand, I always try to think about, basically support and resistance. In a sense, support and resistance can either be like price levels or moving averages. I think these provide really good support.
Yes.
And then on the sentiment side, also moving averages come in handy. So just to summarize that point, I want to give you a chance to speak to. Just to summarize that point, I basically use technical analysis to try to gauge where we are in terms of sentiment. And with sentiment, I think it's interesting because there's a lot of good data out there which shows demand for calls or demand for puts, right? So you don't have to guess like, hey, like what are the masses doing? Like there's some data out there. Sometimes you have to pay for it, but a lot of it is free, where you can get a sense of what are people doing right now, actually. And would it make sense to go really leverage? Maybe not, So yeah, that's one thing, sentiment. And then the other thing, as I mentioned, is supply and demand, because, stock prices tend to act a little funky around certain price levels. And I do not think it's coincidence whatsoever. So yeah, those are the two main things I look at.
I think you're an advocate for what I consider to be a younger generation who is somewhat changing the stock market investing game for good. I really do. And I mean that to be the biggest compliment. I think some of the old school philosophies of investing, I think some of that's changed now. I really do. I think these young investors now, they're savvy. Can you beat the market? Well, schools of thought historically have been no, don't try. Right. And kudos to you, man. You're not going to get any, don't ever apologize for your style, because at the end of the day, what matters is what matters for you. You're using the stock market to leverage your opportunity. That's it. And I do appreciate the fact that you said, hey, coming onto YouTube, you got to be kind of careful sometimes, because even though you have the best intentions to throw something out there, that only, a few percent are going to pick up on what your intent to the message. The rest of them are going to hear what it is they want to hear,
100%. And yeah, on that note, I think one thing I want to talk about, well, you mentioned this older style of investing, and I think it's sort of easy today to adhere to a certain style of investing, and not to like pick on any investor out there, right? I mean, there's obviously like, I'm just going to cite an example of Warren Buffett, who's the greatest investor of all time, right? Yeah. But the advice that he gives to people is advice that most people should follow, but it's not necessarily the advice that made Warren Buffett Warren Buffett. In the sense that, like, when Warren Buffett was a money manager by the age of 30, guess what? No one here was a money manager at the age of 30. Warren Buffett also, the reason why he bought Berkshire Hathaway was because he used to do something which was called like cigar butt investing, where it's in his documentary, right? I'm not like pulling these stories out of my butt. Like, these are real stories that he can attest to.
Becoming Warren Buffett. Yep.
Yeah, like cigar butt investing is basically investing in companies that have like one more puff left, and sort of doing some financial engineering with the CEOs in order to get a good, basically have a win-win situation with the CEO, if I can just summarize it a little bit. And that's actually how he came to own Berkshire Hathaway, is because the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway at the time, it was a failing textile company, was going nowhere. They had agreed on a certain price, and the CEO of that company ended up giving him a slightly lower price than what Warren Buffett expected. And Warren Buffett got so angry that he ended up just buying Berkshire Hathaway outright. And yeah, so in a sense, like that's kind of risky, right? Like this idea of financial engineering, I think is where Warren Buffett really shines. And even now, as we talk about Warren Buffett, like what makes him so great is the financial engineering aspect, and he gets preferred dividends on basically everything he buys. Like
10%.
Exactly. Right. Who gets 10%? I certainly don't get 10%.
No, man. I own Bank of America. I don't get 10%. No.
Exactly. Yep. Some of that, and then I know like PPC Ian has called out some of that, like publicly, like especially when he owned Kraft Heinz too. It's like, hey, you're owning this company that could potentially fail, and yet you're still giving yourself a preferred dividend yield. And that's not even talking about all the other incentives to buy. Like Warren Buffett literally gets free money for buying these companies. And so in the 2008 recession, when a lot of companies were just barely hanging on, I think like Morgan Stanley was one of them. They came knocking on Warren Buffett's door. He had a big pile of cash, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll keep your company afloat for the next 6 months, but these are the terms," right? So that's just an example of a really great investor who preaches value investing now. But he made his name, and he became Warren Buffett for doing these very, very intelligent things. And so my goal is always to try to, I don't know, outsmart the average person, maybe. I don't know how to describe it, but just try to find my edge. And I think I'm slowly starting to figure out who I am. I think I'm only going to get better from here. At least that's my goal. But yeah.
I think you're doing nothing but proving to yourself, because my bottom line is always rendering success. So, again, I like to say, don't apologize for success. I mean, you had the courage to step out a little bit and do what it is that a lot of people will talk themselves off of, for sure. And, good on you for probably starting small. I think probably now, if you looked back at when you started investing and who you are now, you can see the degree of improvement. And that's what's exciting about the future, is that you don't have to go through that evolution again. You can kind of start to look to the future, and you just said it, man. Like, where am I going to be at 30? I think for you, I think you could probably blow through some milestones. I really do. I'd be eyeing $500,000 if I was you. That's just, hey, I'm just your friend through YouTube, but because you've got that investor moxie, and you've identified early in your life what works for you. And that's the key. It's worth repeating for a lot of people who are tuning in, maybe who will tune into this message for the first time and grab some motivation from yourself and the success that you've had. I think it's awesome.
100%. Yeah. Thank you so much for saying that. If actually I can throw back a compliment right back at you. I just want to say, so I've been aware of your channel for maybe about a year now. Never really got into it until this year, as I mentioned, with the live streams. I started to really enjoy those. And what I want to say specifically is like what you did this year, I think was so valuable in terms of like the community, because, March 2020 came around, the market lost 40% in a couple in a few weeks, and you were preaching the same consistent message, which was like, if you hang on to value, you'll probably be good in the long run. Like, it could get worse, right? You were still like honest with people, like it could get worse, but it's most likely going to get better at some point, right? And I'm confident that there's some people that you kind of, they were on the edge, right? They're looking down, they're on the edge, and you kind of just pulled them in a little. So my hat's off to you.
Okay, so I take that to heart. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. It speaks to how serious I take the stock market. It's not a game. This is serious business, man. There's no minor league stock market, man. This is it. If you're investing for you, your family, if you're a single person, whatever it is, it needs to be taken serious. It's not a game. And to be honest with you, I'm very critical of the YouTube community. Maybe it's not my place to be critical of that. But since I started this channel 3 years ago, I've always been one to talk about the two sides of the coin in the stock market. Two. And what I've understood about people and psyche is they don't want to hear about that other side of the coin. All they want to hear about is those short-term opportunities that they can get 20, 30% rendering in a week or a month, and that's it. And if you don't deliver on the goods, man, you're not that exciting. And I got to be honest with you, man. Investing can be very exciting. However, it needs to be approached with discipline, and it needs to be approached with scale. It really does, because it's serious, man. If you don't want to take your finances seriously, then I don't have a lot of room for you. You need to learn that discipline before you even look to invest, man. Do some paper trading, because, I do try to be as consistent with my message, because if you're not, it can be very, very consuming. And I've always, Alex, thought about the person who's sitting back, not commenting, sitting back from either this country or abroad and just listening and really trying to get something helpful. That, my friend, is who I'm talking to. That's who I'm talking to. Last thing I want to see is something that I've said, or something that I've got excited about, or something that I've used emotion to throw through in content, and somebody's picked up on that and went and acted upon it. That's the last thing I want, because I know full well that YouTube creators do have some level of responsibility for the content they put out. And I think some would disagree with me on that. I don't care. There's some ethical piece to this gig. There really is. You have to understand how your message is received by the masses. You have to.
100%, man. And I think that reminds me a lot of just thinking about psychology in general. So I don't know if you've heard of this book called Sapiens. It's a book that got semi-popular. Bill Gates really likes it. But it's a book that just talks about why humans are the way that they are. And I've been reading that book. I really like it. And I've always been thinking about like what actually makes humans humans. And I'm kind of convinced that like there's basically not that much. Obviously everybody's equal, all that, right? But I mean, like, yeah, we're generally just products of our environment. And now that doesn't mean that because you have a certain environment that's what you will be for the rest of your life. It's just that the numbers literally say that if you're born into a certain zip code, this may be how you end up, Yeah. And so, and I mentioned earlier that I talked about people that were, I talked them into investing, and a few people actually, either they get into Robinhood or just like they just sold out of their stocks and just put it in savings. And it's like, I literally can't even do much more than that, right? Like I almost like set up the platform for them. And it's just really hard to break that mindset. And I think that's something I'm starting to think about too, in terms of like my impact, as I think about what I want to give back to my community and stuff, is like how to really break that, right? Because in a sense, I'm a stranger to a lot of people. I guess I can always lead by example, and that may be good enough for some, but for others, there's probably some more to that. And the last point I want to make is that there's really not that much going for the average person right now. Like maybe 30 years ago, if you didn't invest in the stock market, like you might be okay, right? You save up enough money, minimum wage is probably decent enough that you could put it in a house. And guess what? Houses are so good at such good wealth vehicles, actually. So, a lot of wealth is tied up in people's homes. And now, minimum wage, low skill jobs just don't cut it anymore. And you need all the help you can get. And I don't even see any other avenue except the stock market right now to help people get out of there.
No, you speak to something that, couple things I'll say. Urgency. Yeah. This is an hour a week, man. People are like, man, Ryan, you're a grinder. Man, this is great. What? Nah. This is 60 freaking minutes on something that I am wholeheartedly passionate about. We won't get to everybody. We won't. But at least we're providing that opportunity to understand the time is now. I don't care if you're 52. I don't care if you're 24. I don't care, because what you're talking about is the separation between the wealth classes, and the folks that have the money are really separating from the people who, by nature of their psychology and their approach to life, it becomes much more critical for you to take on this topic, but many more. Like, you've got to be spiritually strong. Like, I don't come from money, okay? So I know how to be spiritually strong. At some point in my life, I've taught myself that you don't need money to be happy. You don't. Now, there's a cliche for you, but I've always taken that with me. So my wealth building that I have, it doesn't make me more happy. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just something that I do out of urgency to provide that level of security that you talk about, because you're absolutely right. The wealth building in real estate, we don't buy houses like they did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s for $25,000 anymore. You'd be hard pressed to find a good home. I know you're in California, so you got to laugh at this, because real estate is bonkers out there. Mm-hmm. But even for the most part, in some of your larger suburban communities, you'd be hard pressed to pick up something for $250,000. That, my friend, is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. And I think the last point I will make on what you're talking about is the access to the stock market. Look at the urgency, and then look at the access that I'll speak to my young people right now, the access that people have. And I'm not going to say that every 20-year-old, especially young, needs to have an iPhone 11, okay? But I'm going to go out on a limb and say most people do either have a nice Android or a nice smartphone. That right there is a business, So exactly, it's your business. And the urgency, man, I don't know. I believe that we're doing everything that we can possibly do to define that level of urgency for people, because it is not something that I believe that just a certain few should do. It's something that I believe that everybody should do, with the caveat of taking a few moments to say, okay, this Ryan guy and this Alex guy I watched on this Friday live stream light a fire under my ass. I need to get going on this, but do it with some scale. Okay, this is life-changing information. It really is, but you've got to learn how to leverage it, take on the most amount of risk with as little, most upside potential with as little risk as possible. And there are programs out there that will absolutely be tailor-made for you. You just got to find it. You got to find it.
100%. And I think one other addition to this conversation that I want to bring up is actually the education side of it, in the sense that, like, on a minimum wage salary, let's be real here. Even if you invest most of your salary, whatever you could save, there probably won't be enough left at the end of the month to have something significant before a certain age, right? So a lot of it is also just having something that can make you a decent amount of money. And, whether that means college. For some people, that doesn't mean college, right? I'm not saying college is the only answer, but college is something that can really get you a leg up, as long as you sort of plan, like, what's after that. Because a lot of people, they go to college, but they just don't think, what am I going to do after 4 years? And maybe it's because, like, their friends aren't doing the same thing or something like that. I would even advise, like, I would tell people to pursue that thing that may make you more money rather than that thing that you like right now. Yeah. Because I'll tell you what, man, like, a lot of problems in life, once you graduate college, have to do with money. Yeah. Like, you might want to go on vacation, but you can't. So then you take out a credit card, and then 6 months, you're still paying that thing off. And so, also to that, like, some people end up choosing what they think they're into, right? Something like kinesiology or something, where it'd be really difficult to get a job afterwards. And they end up not liking that thing that they're doing anyway, where it's like, I kind of see it like two ways. Like, you either do something you don't like and you get paid a lot of it, or you do something you don't like and you don't get paid a lot for it. So it's like, I think that even goes beyond what I've seen in terms of investing channels, because usually we just talk about the stock market, but
Yeah.
I think that's another piece I want to address too. And yeah, just to kind of give like a bit of a story here. So
Do it.
so I mentioned I was making decent money before, once I graduated college, and then at some point 2.5 years later, I was like, I kind of want to do a slight career shift. So then I quit my job back in November 2019. I was like, okay, I'm gonna use this time to take courses on the things that I want to do. So right, I didn't take out a loan for a master's degree or anything like that. So I left on November 19th or 2019, and then the pandemic hits. So I just literally quit my job, and then the pandemic hits, and like every company goes in hiring freezes. And like that ended up being like job searching on hard mode. Like it would have been like difficult enough to not, or it would have been difficult enough to find a job normally, right? But then like obviously with everything that happened, like it was even like expert mode to try to find a job. But yeah, just to kind of wrap things up, eventually I did find the job, which ended up being what I liked. But something I've mentioned on my channel a little bit is also like career pivots. Because like, as I mentioned, I quit my job to take courses to learn new skills, right? The courses altogether cost like $400, and I increased my salary by literally 50%. And I'm not saying like I had to quit my job to take those courses, right? I could have done them simultaneously. That was my choice. And sure, there was a lot of opportunity costs, because when the market crashed, I didn't have a job, so I couldn't, pay, invest more money, whatever. But still, like I invested in like my peace of mind. Like I'm doing what I want to do, and yeah, that's just a story I wanted to give. I'm not saying it to like brag or anything. I just mean like it doesn't take that much to invest a little bit in your mind to really accelerate you more than you thought you could, really, because there's a lot of jobs out there that pay a lot of money, and I got paid like $20,000-$30,000 more than I thought I'd be getting paid, and that's just because I knew the material that I did,
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think you're probably motivating a lot of young people now. I think if I told my history and story, I think I would bore a lot of people. I never took any of those. If I told the audience what I make per year, I think people would be like, "Wow, that's pretty amazing. He's been able to build up the net worth that he has with the level of income that he has." But I think I do stand for and advocate for the fact that your job and your income will be your best asset. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, man. There's people in this audience that would agree with me. Gen X dividend investor. You got J Mac investing as well in the group. You've got Matt Money.
Both of which are software engineers, or used to be software engineers, right?
100%, right? So I don't mean to put those folks on the spot, but I will say this. Their investing success didn't come out of thin air. Okay, let me just put that out there. My investing success in some degree represents my income, which it is good, but I've never made 100 grand in my life. Never. I think it'd be fun someday. I don't know what I would do with it. I don't know what my full paycheck looks like, because I invest like a champ, I mean, I'm putting away $1,900 a month, and I've done that for many, many years, because I do live a lifestyle that's indicative of supporting investing. And I think that's a card that a lot of people can resonate with. They can come to my channel and be like, dang, man, I heard what this Alex guy's talking about. Focus in on my job, my income. If there's any way of elevating that, do it. Then they can flip over to Ryan and be like, dude, this guy's a regular fella. If he can do it, I can do it. You can. You can, man. If you put me back at 24, Alex, but you stripped away the income, I would be 3 times where I'm at right now, maybe even knocking on the door to $1 million because of the discipline that I have. So it speaks to the power of both, but you can't have one without the other. In other words, I've met people that have made hundreds of thousands of dollars and they're broke. They're a complete disaster. They're pissed off at life. They're spiritually a wreck, and you just, man, my heart goes out to those people too, because they just don't get it,
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And Sorry, I was just gonna bring up. I know that you have a particular title or like a theme that you have with your live streams. Did you want to get back to talking about that? I know I kind of took it a different direction.
Oh, heavens no, man. This is like investing. You never really know where it's going to go, but I'm always happy with the result, brother. And I'm going to tell you, I will take 2 seconds and just thank you for coming on. It's meant a ton to me. If there's anybody that is in this group now, man, you have got to kick over. If somebody can do me a favor, grab the link, please, and drop it into this thread. We have got to help our brother Alex for sure. And anybody that's catching this live stream after, because I know I've got a lot of Europeans that will catch this afterwards as well. They got to help you support your initiative, man. It's the least I can do. It's the least.
For sure.
I really appreciate it. But go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. So I guess I could just should I outro myself?
Not really. You don't need to outro yourself. You're good. We got 15 minutes, man. We're good.
All right, for sure. Yeah, cool. Do you
I would just ask you, man, this. I appreciate you coming on. I really do. But how easy is it for other younger investors to follow in your footsteps and kind of learn some of the techniques that you're looking at? Can you speak about that a little bit? I'm always looking to reach back. I'm always looking to help somebody along. And I'm a fundamental investor. You said basically at the top of this that you're more of a technical investor, right? And both can be very, very effective. You're usually less effective when you try to mix the two, because the fundamentals of both, the philosophies of both, can be somewhat counterintuitive to each other. But can you speak a little bit about that for anybody that's maybe catching the live stream for the first time? Like, how can they take this information and empower their own lives, man? Is it possible?
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think what you're talking about is like really accelerating profits, right? And I do want to give a disclaimer, which is like, I haven't been doing this for a while. So it could be that like I could have been lucky the past 2 years, 3 years or something. And I'm just like, giving bad advice. I hope it's not that. I think I'm more methodical than that. But I do like that you pointed that out. And I think because you prefaced it by talking about young people, it's important because young people are at the advantage of being able to take more risk. Now, risk can come in, many different ways, right? Like obviously, there's not so smart ways to take on more risk, like borrowing money you don't have, or there's smarter ways to take risks, like investing in different sectors. You go ahead and pull up a chart of Nvidia and Apple and tell me, are they keeping on pace with the market? So yeah, I think it's when I see younger investors, even like younger channels, like I know a few younger channels about my age where they're preaching monthly dividend stocks, and they're talking about their, I'm trying to think of a few names. It's funny because Hidden Freedom Investing and I go back and forth on the SPHD ETF.
Yeah.
So I actually like it because I still covered calls on it. So I'm getting, literally, I'm not making this up, I'm getting a 10% yield on it every month because I bought it so low, and then I'm selling covered calls on it. So I personally like it, right? 10% on dividend, not even counting capital appreciation alone. Like, oh, come on, like you can't go wrong with that. But yeah, like I see some YouTube channels and they're preaching mostly like, our favorite stocks like Stag, LTC, Realty Income. Actually, Realty Income is a really good company, but I think it's about the mindset, right? It's not about the stocks you pick. It's about the mindset of like, sure, you could get 6% on your money and it's going to get paid every single month, but like getting paid every month at the age of 20, 25, 26, 27, like that doesn't do much for you, right? If we're talking about, okay, if you're FIRE, or if you're living off your dividends at some point, yeah, maybe you want to think strategically about when your stocks are getting paid out. But it's actually kind of a myth that like your money will compound quicker if you get paid more frequently. That's not really true. It's a pretty big myth actually. So yeah, I mean, I think there's sort of a few ways to think about it, right? It depends on how much on the technical side you want to go. I think like there's less risk inherently during drawdowns, right? So I would rather buy something, 10% off its all-time highs And I'd rather take on more risk during those opportunities. So that's the simple advice I want to give. Obviously, I could, this could be a 2-hour advice thing. That's kind of one thing I want to give. And then on the not so technical side, there is such a thing as like picking just quality in general, right? Like dividend aristocrats are usually really, really good. And like some ETFs might have a lot of junk in them. So, also think about exactly what you're buying. Cause like you might have some small cap stocks, some really obscure stocks. You never even heard of them in a lot of ETFs. So, off the top of my head, those are just 2 examples of how to, how to basically be strategic in terms of beating the market. And it starts with the mindset, right? Because if you have the mindset of like, I should probably just invest in an index fund. It depends, right? I mean, look, like that, it goes back to like how much risk you want to take. Because for a lot of people, that's the option. That's a good option. That's a solid option. I'm not saying anything like that, right? But it's the mindset of like, if you start to look for ways to increase your returns, especially if we're talking about covered calls, right? You will come across ways to accelerate your returns. Covered calls, you can boost your dividend income by like 30% most times, and you're not taking on any additional risk. So it's fine to invest in index funds, but just think about where can I accelerate those gains, and it's going to be different for every single person because I have my own strategy. Some people might have theirs. So yeah.
David says, "Get on topic, Ryan.
Exactly.
Come on, man. What the hell are you doing, man? Throwing tomatoes at me."
Right.
He knows how I roll, man. I'm dynamic. I didn't expect anybody to come on tonight, Alex, but sure do appreciate you coming on. I think I would say this. I think there's way too many people that are getting involved with investing nowadays that are trying to validate this investing game within a 10-year time horizon. All right. That's just my pulse. Okay. And I'm just going to tell you, man, from after the 2009, 2010 downturn, it's been really kind of crazy. And I'm not even talking about this year. Yeah, that was a quick blip, but that was a real anomaly, a real opportunity to buy. I was buying in some strategic spots in this market for sure. I would rather not be provided that type of opportunity because a lot of people are suffering now and have suffered. But I just think there is a grander picture, and I think so many people. I look at 10 years in the stock market as short term, right? So I just think a lot of people are defining their investing opportunity now within a matter of weeks, and when you talk about the dividend aristocrats, now you're extending beyond decades, and you're looking at those companies that look. There's no company out there that is void of risk. None. Okay, investing in the stock market it involves risk. Okay, you're putting capital to risk with the idea of accelerating, right, your gains into the future. But if I could impart to the younger investors, it would be very, very simple. Try to always define your long-term thinking in the stock market, honestly, because I think you at 24, Alex, with the strategy that you're deploying, you're able to generate this capital. But I guess my question would be, when you're my age at 42, are you going to still be deploying the same strategy? I don't know, maybe in some capacity. Maybe you take some pay dirt and put it on the side and exercise that old boring routine, because if there's nothing else, the people who come onto my channel and see the results that I'm pretty open about and just saying, hey, here's what's possible. And it's a long and winding road to those renderings, but anybody can do it. But I want people to understand how I got there. I've manufactured a little capital like you have, doing some swing trading, etc. But that's not my game. It's not. It's part of my game. But I think layering up is my strategy, putting lots of different chips on the table in a lot of different capacities: growth investing, dividend investing, swing trading, my employer sponsored. I do have a pension coming. So there's lots of layers in my program that make sense to me. And
yeah, 100%. I mean, a big part of it is just like awareness of what's going on at different times. It doesn't mean like you have to have a really fancy stock screener or anything like that. It's just knowing that like, hey, there's some stocks where it's almost impossible to get this on a discount, and that's for good reason. It's because they have a lot of demand for them, right? So then,
J&J, good luck.
I was just thinking of J&J, exactly. So it's like, there's when the market does drop, just you have a limited amount of capital. Just think about where you're going to deploy it a little more. Good luck trying to get into Microsoft on anything more than like a 20% dip, unless we have like a really bad crash, right? But when that opportunity presents itself, it's like, okay, you have to pounce. That's something else I want to say.
Well, and I just think it speaks to a lot of new investors out there. They do have a lot of work to be done. So they don't have to worry about deploying a strategy that I deploy. They don't have to worry about deploying your strategy. If you're void of those 5 or 10 stocks, if you're a stock investor, you need to work on that. You need to work on getting some capital to risk and learning about the ups and downs in the markets. You don't have to be worried about learning about technical analysis. Maybe get a little pay dirt in the game and then look to expand your craft a little bit, see if you like it. Maybe they don't like it. But I just think a lot of people need to get off the sidelines to start. So instead of talking to an audience to fine tune their program, I'd really like to speak to the masses out there that just need to get up off the bench. So
100%, man.
I'll give you this opportunity, Alex, to say goodbye to the group, man. And I just, on behalf of the channel, freaking thanks, man. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad you came on. You're always welcome here, that's for sure. And hit me up sometime for sure. I'm going to kick over and subscribe to your channel actually at the end. I don't think I am. I don't think the community's too big, and I typically don't spend a whole lot of time outside of just trying to reach my audience.
No worries, dude. And honestly, at your size, like you have a lot of subscribers, so I don't even think about it twice. But yeah, so as far as my outro goes, so yeah, it was awesome actually being here. I think my heart was like pounding once I first joined in the backstage. I was like, dude, I'm actually doing this. Like, why am I doing this? I didn't even feel like doing it, but I just did it.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh yeah, exactly. Man, I love that movie. That's where I get my inspiration from.
Nice, man.
Yeah, but yeah, so once again, thank you for having me. I have the utmost respect for you and everything you're doing. So this was a lot of fun, and we have a really great community here.
Yeah, man.
And I'm happy to be a part of it. So yeah, thanks.
You are, my friend. Be well. Have a great weekend, Alex. We'll catch you later.
See ya.
All right, brother. Later. I don't know. So that was pretty special for me. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I just absolutely love it when other philosophies. Thank you to Blood Phantom. So again, another plug for sure. It's the least I can do for him spending his time. Not really sure about the nervousness piece of it. It's taken me a while to evolve to be able to come on and offer what I feel is a somewhat polished product, but I don't want you guys to look at this as anything other than a fellow investor sharing his testimonial, that being mine. And that's why I try to bring on other perspectives as well. And that way, if you don't resonate with my message, it's okay. It's okay. And I'm trying to get across to some of these folks. My ARK ETF video, man, of all the hate that I took on that, it would have been like I wronged you in another life or something. Invest or not to invest? That's the question. And it's a lot of questioning that a lot of people out there are running through in deliberation. If you're not paying attention right now, the stock market is alive and well. And whether it be that you're in your 50s or whether it be that you're in your 20s, there is absolutely opportunity out there for you guys. I provide my opportunity. I roll it out. I'm available on Instagram through Facebook. The Facebook group is free of charge. I offer the opportunity through the websites as well. All of the links can be found on the homepage, the Independent Investor channel. So if you're interested in seeking out some of those other opportunities, I try to keep those conduits a little bit different. My podcast is something that I do enjoy. I'll roll that out late at night sometimes when I want to feed that creative opportunity. Always at the end of the day, trying to understand that person out there who's going to receive my message and maybe feel better for it having received that message. Maybe you get a little bit of encouragement. Maybe you get a little bit of motivation. Maybe it helps you break down some barriers that you've defined for yourself or others have defined for you. We're looking to break through that, guys, because a lot of it is right here. It's all mental, and anybody has the capacity to do it. You just got to make the conscious choice to do it. Guys, have a great weekend. We'll catch you next Friday on the Independent Investor Channel live stream, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Be safe, be well, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks a ton, guys.